Alright, we've reached our final lesson in identifying angle pair relationships. The last one that we need to talk about in detail is corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are the last ones. Remember that these are the angles in the same relative position or in corresponding location. This slide shows the possible locations for a pair of corresponding angles. They must both be on the left or both on the right of the transversal, and then they must be either both above or both below the two parallel lines. So the four images pictured here give you the four different types of locations. These are the only types of locations you will ever see corresponding angles. There is a reason that we saved these for last, because it is much easier to determine their angle measures if we have some other rules to help us out. Remember, the same side interior and exterior angles are always supplementary when parallel lines are present. Alternate interior and alternate exterior angles are congruent. Adjacent angles, in the case of the figures that we've been working with, are a linear pair and they're supplementary. Each of these is going to play a part in being able to determine the measures of corresponding angles and finding their relationship. Alright, here we just want to review the different pairs of angles and their locations. So alternate exterior, angle 1 and angle 8. Angle 2 and angle 7. Alternate interior, angle 3 and angle 6. Angle 4 and angle 5. The same side exterior angles are 1 and 7, and then 2 and 8. And the same side interior angles are 3 and 5, and 4 and 6. Corresponding angles that we just looked at examples of would be 1 and 5, 3 and 7, and over on the right hand side, 2 and 6, then 4 and 8. You can identify here which set of angles are corresponding angles. Hopefully you said 1 and 5, 2 and 6, 4 and 8, and 3 and 7. I think we're ready to move on to finding angle measures of corresponding angles. Here we are given a figure with two parallel lines cut by a transversal. Notice that the darker line given makes that shape of an F. It's there to help you. Just know that the F doesn't always have to be in its proper orientation. So in this case, the D and the H are the corresponding angles. We could also flip the F to be backwards or flip it to be upside down, and it would represent other pairs of corresponding angles in each corner. So if we take the measure of angle A is equal to 50 degrees, we want to find the measures of the corresponding angle pair. Angle A corresponds with angle E here. So A and C or A and G would both be supplementary angles because they're either adjacent or they're same side exterior, depending on which you choose. So if A is 50, then C must be 130, and E and C are also supplementary, so E is also 50 degrees. We determined that C is 130 already, so let's find G to determine what its relationship is in the corresponding angle pair. E, we just said, was 50 degrees. It's adjacent and supplementary, so G also has to be 130 degrees. Notice that A and E were congruent and C and G were also congruent. Let's make sure that this holds true by finding the corresponding angles on the other side of the transversal. Pause the video and work them out now. Hopefully you came up with B is equal to 130 degrees and F is equal to 130 degrees, and that D and H were both equal to 50 degrees. You could have used any combination of angle pair relationships to determine each of these measures. Here is another figure to provide us with one more example. So if the measure of angle 3 is given as 140 degrees, we want to find the measure of angle 5. I want you to use corresponding angle relationships in this case. So angle 3 and angle 1 are corresponding. If angle 3 is 140 degrees, then angle 1 must also be 140 degrees. Now we can move on to use angle 1 and angle 5 as supplementary adjacent angles. So that linear pair must add to be 180 degrees, which makes the measure of angle 5 40 degrees. Is this making sense so far? Try finding the measure of angle 1 and 7 on your own. Alright, here is our last example where we put everything together. We are given that the measure of angle A is 72 degrees. Let's find the measure of all of the other angles. I'm going to start with those that are corresponding. If A is 72, that must mean E is 72. Then H is 108 since they are supplementary. H and D are corresponding, so D is 108 degrees. D and B are vertical angles. We haven't seen those in a while. So B must also be 108 because vertical angles are congruent. B and F are corresponding, so F is equal to 108 degrees. Then F and G are supplementary, so G is equal to 72. Since it is corresponding with C, the measure of angle C must be 72 degrees as well. And that gets all of them. There are many other ways you could have done this. I just tried to use as many corresponding relationships as possible since that was the focus of our lesson here. So in conclusion, corresponding angles are found in the same relative position, and we know what that means now. And when the lines are parallel, then corresponding angles are congruent. Since this is the last lesson for our discussion of angle pairs, I wanted to leave you with a video from YouTube that sums up most of what we've been discussing. I'm sure by the end of it, you'll just be dying to make your own. Thanks for all of your hard work you put into all of this practice. I promise you that it will pay off. Alright guys, sorry about that little technical difficulty there. The video should be working now, so enjoy.